One of the things that really piqued my interest with you was your access to the doors in '67 at Sunset Sound on Sunset Strip, the legendary studio. Still
Right.
there, still family run,
Right.
family owned. I mean, everything in there is like, they've still got a lot of this stuff from back in the day.
Right.
How did you end up there in '67?
Well, what happened was I was a photo editor for the college newspaper, and one day in the darkroom processing some film, I figured, I could probably contact some record companies, and I could get free albums because we'd photograph some groups, we'd interview them, all this new music happening. So the first company that actually contacted me back was Elektra Records, and they said, "You want to meet the Doors?" Yeah, that would be nice. So they said, "We can arrange for you next week to go into the recording studio, Sunset Sound, and you can spend a few hours with the guys." So I said, "Yeah, okay." So it was, I think we got there about 1:30 in the afternoon. I was with a friend of mine who was going to write information down, interview a little bit. And when we pulled up to Sunset Sound, the way it used to be in '67 was they had a little parking lot next to it, the building, and they had a low brick wall. It was about 4 feet high, maybe. And when we pulled up, there's Morrison leaning on the brick wall. When we pulled in, parked, and I just went up and introduced myself to him, and he just looked at me and he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "We're here to photograph you, and where do I go in?" And he just pointed to the door around the corner on Sunset there. You go on in. Okay. So I went in, introduced myself, got everything set up in there, and Morrison came back in, and between songs and laying tracks down, a lot of time goes by. So I snapped a few pictures. I remember being nervous because I'd never done anything like this before with a camera, and I just wanted to be very quiet. I pushed my film speed to ASA so as I wouldn't have to use a flash because they had a lot of light on there. So I think I set it at 800 ASA, and I was probably shooting at 5.6 at 125. And I started taking pictures here and there, which you see with photographs today. And I just really
Well, how long were you there for that
about
session?
5 hours.
You spent 5 hours with the Doors at Sunset Sound.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, a lot of those key photos are still up in their lobby. I was just there not too long ago, and I've been going there with a friend of mine that's been recording there for a few years. So I go there every chance I get because it's just magic.
Yeah.
But all your stuff is still in there, along with all the gold records. Is the picture of Jim and Rothschild,
Right.
out on Sunset, and them at the mixing desk in Studio 2,
Yeah.
and all of that. And they celebrate your work there. But that whole Doors thing's very documented there still to this day.
Right. It was just a neat thing that happened that really got my career going a little later.
It's amazing that you were probably the first rock photographer to go in there and
I
document.
wouldn't consider myself a rock photographer at that point. It was early
Well, it
in the career.
established you in that direction.
It did. It sure did.
And then you go from there. We got right after that in '68. You're shooting the Doors again at Santa Monica Civic.
Right.
Was that when your Weekend Warrior pass came in? You could come up and shoot.
Almost every weekend I could get away and go, and I'm just 140 miles from LA, my parents' house. So
That's great.
every weekend, yeah, just about every weekend.